Hello, folks. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers, and I hope you're having a good day. In 1963, when President Kennedy was assassinated, there were 79 people from the Pentagon that came together and decided that something needed to be done to stop the globalists. They knew at that time that if the globalists continued to move forward with what they were trying to do, that the American people would be at risk. And there was a very good chance that the American people could very well be eliminated. Now, we know from that time until the early 1990s that there were contracts signed. The globalists and the deep state had put those contracts in place, and the people who were working for them had signed those things, many being in Congress, many of them being past presidents and people in their cabinets and so on. Now, these people were definitely interested in the elimination of the American people. Now let's take a look at the 1990s. And I did have to take a deep breath there. The 1990s were kind of a horse of a different color. As I was being told by the Lord to get out of the Democratic Party because it was going to be judged. And because of the fact that people who vote for people who are satanic, I guess that's the best term, they are responsible for the things that those people do, especially if their votes are the things that get them elected. Now, if there was a situation whereby those people did not get elected through those votes but stole the election, does that mean then that you're still at fault? Unfortunately, most likely it does. But the 1990s, we've talked about 63 and how that the people formed the alliance and so on. And we've also talked about the fact that many people said the alliance was alive and well as far back as Abraham Lincoln. However, it lied dormant for a number of years. So we can take a look at all of those different things. But the 1990s, I believe, are really the pivotal years. In 1992, Bill Clinton was elected president, and a lot of people were very concerned about that. There was a group of pastors that were invited to meet with Bill Clinton, and during the course of the conversations, they, which happened to be a group of Baptist preachers, said to him, "It's great that we're going to have a Baptist in the White House because now a lot of the things that the Christians want to see get done will be able to get done." And his statement was, "Who told you I was a Christian? I never said I was a Christian. I said that I was a Baptist." And I think it was at that point in time that many of the pastors nationwide realized that a huge mistake had been made. Unfortunately, those kinds of mistakes happen a lot. Some of them are by way of stealing elections, and some of them are by way of the fact that there are a lot of Americans who are gullible. And if they understood the fact that there are two sides, and it's not Republicans and Democrats, it is actually globalists and deep staters, Satanists, and over here, the Christians and the people who are trying to keep their families in one piece while working way too many hours. So if we can understand that, then quite frankly, I believe we could understand why in the early 90s, all of a sudden, a group of people that called themselves militia formed. It was ministers who actually got the militia movement started. A group of pastors in the state of Michigan actually are credited with beginning the militia movement in the United States. Interestingly enough, out of the 83 counties in the state of Michigan, 67 of those counties had militia groups in them, and they were all related. They didn't just call themselves the Michigan militia, but they also called themselves the Wolverines. And there were other militia groups that also formed. There were groups in other states that fashioned their militia groups after the Wolverines, and then there were other groups that had nothing at all to do with the Wolverines. Now, the Wolverines more or less took the forefront, and as they took the forefront, they were the ones that were seen on TV. They were the ones that wound up almost being the mouthpiece of the militia movement. One of the big mistakes that the militia members made in the 1990s was that they constantly said the government, the government, the government. They did not have the knowledge yet at that time to be able to say people working in the government are Satanists and globalists and deep staters, and they need to be controlled. Instead, they said the government, and unfortunately, a lot of people saw them as a bunch of weirdos. I mean, here's these people out in the woods, and they are out there practicing being soldiers. Now, some of them were former soldiers. Some of them were people who did weekend warrioring as reserves. Some of them retired from the military, and yet others were people that didn't have any military experience and were at ground zero when it come right down to it. Well, the Michigan Wolverines continued to be more or less the mouthpiece of the militia movement. What happened is that the Murrah building was bombed. The people who were the globalists, the people that were the deep staters, wanted to stop the militia movement. The only way that they could stop the militia movement was by trying to do something that would change the conversation altogether. And so that's what they did. They went ahead and they bombed the Murrah building. It was, unfortunately, the people that were part of the deep state that did that. How do we know that? Well, there was a couple of people that were part of a group that was in Decker, Michigan, but they weren't actually a part of the militia itself. They were actually what were known as moles. They were government moles that had come in and infiltrated. They are the ones that parked, at least it's believed it was them, that parked the truck out in front of the Murrah building. First of all, the truck was far enough away that it had nothing to do with the Murrah building. It was discovered that inside of the Murrah building were some detonations. The only way that a building of that nature can come down is if there are direct hits upon the columns, and then it will come down. But here's the dirty little secret. The people that actually took the building down told all of the various officers from all of the three-letter agencies, don't come in today. The building is going to come down. And many of them reported that. But here's what's even worse. In the basement of that building was 168 children in a daycare center, along with the people that were operating that daycare center. When the building came down, those people were in there. Now, you see, what was supposed to happen is that the American people were supposed to say, oh, those awful militia members brought this building down. But very quickly they realized that it had to be an inside job, because the people that normally worked there were not in the building, but the children continued to be there even though the building was coming down. They murdered all of those children so that they could try to accuse the militia of taking the building down. And nothing could have been further from the truth, because the bombs that actually took the building down were bombs that were a part of the military. It was nothing more, nothing less. I think they called them hydrogen gaseous, I believe was the term, bombs. I think that's what they referred to them as. And it turned out that they were bombs that were specifically used by the military. So it was a military organization that took that building down and murdered all of those children. The media, it got on to it, and they did the Bill Clinton thing. They said, oh, the Michigan militia, the Michigan militia, the Michigan militia. And they said it enough times so that people would believe it. But there were too many questions about the situation, and people weren't willing to believe it. On our next video, we're going to expand what we've talked about here. This is Kevin from Good Day, Good Prayers, and I want you to have a good day. Good day.